Leadership on Demand, TM Hyman. Listen with one of my friends, and I'm excited to introduce her to you because you have seen her in so many places, and now we're going to get a chance to lean in. Queen Barbara Majeski, OMG.
I love when anybody calls me the queen. I'm like going with it. I'm here for it.
Listen,
Royalty.
you have to royalty. You are. Listen, and you're so cool with Barbara Majeski. I had a chance to meet you in real life, rooftop NYC. It was the best time ever last year. But for those who may not know who you are, I'm not sure what rock they've been sleeping under, right? But can you introduce yourself, Queen Barbara Majeski?
Absolutely. So I am an on-air television personality. I do the Today Show, Inside Edition, Good Day New York, Fox and Friends. I basically just curate, all the good stuff in life. I do a lot. I do it all. I'm also a podcast host, and I just help people, really live their best life. Like, what does it mean to live a good life? Live with purpose, style, adventure. So that's me in a
Purpose,
nutshell.
style, adventure. Listen, not only is it you, Bob, we met on Clubhouse,
Hmm.
Breakfast with Champions, the Millionaire Breakfast Club. And I think for the evolution of Clubhouse, right? We were there when we were testing the app. A lot of folks like yourself that we
Yeah.
would never have access to, right? You made it so easy to converse about things like the good life, right? You were able to talk about your life, how you were able to accomplish, but we got to know you personally, right? I mean, mother of three plus a dog, right? A
Let's not
survivor.
leave. I have split custody of the dog and the kids. So yes.
I mean, look, and you talk about divorce in such a way, I think, that liberates people, right? Because it's not connected with shame. Listen, you are the host of Bear It All because you bear it all.
Right.
Like, where does that come from, Barb? Have you always been open and honest and free?
No, oh God, before my divorce and before I went through cancer, I was just a veneer. I was checking all the boxes and wearing the right clothes and driving the right cars and saying the right things and joining the right clubs, and everything was in a box. It was either right or wrong, and I was very, I don't know. I just found there, in retrospect, I didn't realize it, but I just was really just putting on a big front, like so that I would get approval or acceptance or, just be so I don't think, and then when the wheels slowly started falling off, which first my marriage imploded in a dumpster fire, blaze of glory. And then I got diagnosed with cancer. Blaze of glory. And, I could no longer uphold that veneer. It was so heavy. It was such a burden. And I didn't have the bandwidth to be anybody else but myself. And I had to accept where the chips fell if people didn't like what I brought to the table. And it's been an evolution. And I think we're all a work in progress and a masterpiece simultaneously. But yeah, I think where you're meeting me now is somebody that's like, I'm just gonna lead with my truth, and I can't control how anybody judges me. So I'm no longer gonna think I have any jurisdiction over it anyway.
Yeah. You've made that loud and clear, and I think you've been able to positively impact so many people. I mean, you are a global philanthropist, right? You give in so many ways. I'm a part of a challenge that you are facilitating right now, right? Just so that we can exercise and move about and stay healthy. Because living the good life is not just about making money, right? If you're not alive, what's the purpose of the money, right? You're
Yeah, 100%. You read about highly successful people, and the way my metrics for success is not only wealth. I do think being wealthy and having money does a lot of freedom and choices and the ability to take care of others. And take care of yourself and live a lifestyle that you're excited about and you enjoy waking up towards. But it's also about, taking care of your health. And when you read about successful people, health, wealth, and relationships are like the three main
top of the bottom.
verticals.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so the reason I do these challenges, it really is I realize people know what they need to do. Like, I think people know that exercise is important, eating abundant fruits and vegetables and drinking water. And I think people know what they need to do, but information doesn't mean implementation.
Yeah.
Information doesn't lead to transformation. It's the action, it's actually doing the things, and not just doing them when you're inspired, but doing them regardless of your mood, regardless of how you feel. It's doing them consistently. And I find, like, with my challenges, I'm like, let me help you move from information to transformation by creating this playground for the doing of, like, let's just do this together. Because so that's really the impetus and the meat and potatoes of those challenges. I want to help people not just learn about living a good life, but actually live a good life. And I find that exercise, when you start there, and I think you agree, if you can start your day with a healthy dose of endorphins and dopamine and fresh air and oxygenation of your brain,
Yeah.
it cascades to all areas of your life. So I just think, I'm like, let's focus on one thing and do it every damn day. So
Every day.
I'm glad you're in my challenge, because my challenges are fun, right?
They are. We post. It's accountability. You get to see what other people are doing inside or outside. And I'll tell you, I've drank more water because of the water bottle that you sent me that has your name across of it. It's accountability. It's like you're watching, right? I drink more water
I
because I
am
think
watching.
you're watching. Right? Barbara Majeski, how did you break into being able to be a personality across so many dynamic platforms? I first saw you on the Today Show way before I came in your graces, right? Way before I met you in life, way before I heard you on Clubhouse. Even I saw you on the Today Show. But I mean, you said Inside Edition, the Nick Cannon Show. How did you break into this industry?
I guess the answer to that is I hired a media trainer out of New York, and I decided to invest in myself. And that was it. I think, it's I say it, but I hesitate to say it, because there it sounds like, oh, that's the golden ticket. But there's so many other layers to that. Like, it's like buying a book about making money, and you think you're like, you have to actually do the things. Again, it always goes to, like, you can't just buy health and wellness. You actually have to do the
Yes.
healthy things. So I had to, I fortunately, I signed up with her. She happened to be a former executive producer of the Today Show. And my entire background did actually have a strong element to build. So I was in sales. I was a door-to-door sales girl. But what people don't know is that when you're people, maybe the people that are in sales know this, anybody who's done sales teaches you how to think on your feet,
Facts.
stand tall in the face of adversity. Like, you gotta just like, you gotta be on your toes,
Yeah.
you gotta,
Builds your
like, a box.
confidence in a major
Yeah,
way, right? Builds your
yeah.
confidence. Yeah.
And so it was all kind of a combination. I don't know. Are you a boxer? Do you ever box?
I've never boxed, but I can fight. I've never boxed, but I can fight, Barb.
Okay, that makes one of us. I cannot. If you, I dead, done. That's it, done. It's
I got
over.
you back, sister.
Yeah, thank you. Because if anybody came at me, I'd be like, no, 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 no.
Oh, I got you
I'm
covered.
even bad at, like, kickboxing. For some reason, I just don't have. But
Karate, it started when I was a kid. And so yeah, karate. I studied that, plus street fighting. So yeah, I got us covered, Barb.
well, you learn in street fighting, is to just be alert, like, all senses, and be on your toes.
Absolutely.
And it's not about how hard you get punched, right? It's about, like Rocky says, it's about getting back up. And
Yeah,
not like, even though you've been put back on your heels, get back on your toe, like, get back in the game, like, get back on your getting on your center.
that's right.
So I think that's what's allowed me, like, all these other things did build the muscles to get into TV. So it was the media trainer and a culmination of all these skills that I had kind of cultivated through sales and marketing, believe it or not.
No, I do believe it because I've always been in sales and service. I've been in sales and
Mhm.
service as a sales leader for quite some time. And I would hesitate to say sometimes that I don't like sales. I
Yeah.
hesitate to say that, right? But sales was not my ideal career. I just learned where one, you made the most money. I liked the idea. And I kind of
Mhm.
learned, but I also learned what worked for me. I'm not someone who is going to try to, make you think or make you believe that you need something. If you just show me a little bit of interest, I can push you over the top with the features, the advantages, and the benefits, right? And so we share a similarity. And you did direct sales, I did outbound sales. So outbound sales, they didn't call you. They weren't looking for you to call them, right, or interrupt their day. Now
Yeah.
you have to still close, right?
Yeah.
So totally to get that. So yes, I do get how sales and marketing, but really it's the massive action. Barb, if you still had to go out there and sell yourself, right? I mean, you
A
right?
100%. I think actually we did something very similar because I was in door-to-door sales, in which is outbound sales, except I had to be in person. So when the
Yeah,
negatives came in and the people were annoyed because they didn't know I was coming in their door. I mean, we're talking cold call sales. That means I walked up to your house or I went into your place of business and was like, "Hi, I know you're busy." But I
interrupting the day, right?
yeah, yeah, I know you've got better things to do, but if you could, I just get your attention. So, but what I did and what we both have cultivated, and I think that is, where you and I align and have more in common than we know, is that we have a thick skin. We are resilient and we know how to be persistent and persevere. And the truth is, it's like in sales because we're working on commission because we want to make money. Like you go into sales because you realize I'll get compensated if I outwork everyone else. I'll make more than everyone else.
Very
And
well.
I'm here for that. I'm like, how do I'm here for that. I'm like,
Yes,
I want to not be poor. I grew up with not a lot and I saw other people with a lot more than me. And it just looked and felt better. And it is better. It's better to have choices than not, and it's better to have access to more choices. So anyway, what we have through sales that carries over is that resiliency of like a no is a no. Some of the no's are a little nasty, some of the no's are a little insulting, but it's still just a next, and learning how to really tap into that I don't know, that fortitude. And I don't think a lot of people have that anymore.
yeah,
They want everything handed to them, and I'm like, so I think where you're meeting me is just a girl who won't give up. It's like I'll just keep
fortitude for sure,
that
resilience for
just
sure.
yeah, and then the happiest people, again, it goes to like I always study like success and happy people and all the things. They're always in a state of growth. They're always curious, they're always learning. And I think that's really helped me I don't know, keep moving the feet forward. And then you'll see me on a different show and a different trying something new. I'm like, I'm curious and I'm willing to put myself out there because I'm okay with like, what is somebody going to say something mean about me or to me? I'm like, don't worry, I did sales door to door, so there's nothing you can say that you can't hurt me.
Barbara, I witnessed you do something recently that I was like, boss, boss. I've seen you, I've heard you, I've seen you do a few things. I'm like, boss.
What
Right?
did I do?
Someone had somebody blocked recently. One of our dear friends was
Oh
blocked
yeah.
in Clubhouse. And she's just a gem, right? She helps to keep it all together for us, specifically within, our moderation team. And I saw you come into a room and you was like, wait one damn minute. Let me tell everybody in this room one thing right now. Unblock her or there's going to be hell to pay. And you didn't say that exactly. Those are my words. But
There's gonna be carnage.
listen, listen straight, boss. And the next thing we knew, guess what? Ta-da! He was able to get into the room. Where does that like big big woman come from in this little frame?
Then you meet me in person, you're like, "Oh my god." I love that question, and I'm glad, you were able to witness that. Like, on my watch, that's a no, and I will say I'm gonna say these 2 things. Number 1, Clubhouse is a sacred forum, and there needs to be all sorts of voices. I might not agree with people, but like, really won't block anyone.
I've never
Um,
blocked anyone.
no, and you really you have to be like a threat to my family, and then not only are you blocked from me, I have that's it. We're gonna, but I really haven't had experiences with that. People don't like me or they disagree with me, what have you. But I feel like there's this integrity within Clubhouse of like, no, we don't do that. Like, if you cannot hold your own in an argument, there's leave quietly.
That's right. And
That's number one.
respect.
Right. And I think it needs to be spoken sometimes and reminded of like, please don't disrupt the integrity of this environment, which is so sacred now because everyone's canceled here and there, and everyone's blocking and all this. And I'm like, at least on Clubhouse, we have managed through a group of very strong influencers and moderators. Like, we have this discord. Like, we just don't get it. Like, we battle like gladiators, but we're like, okay, great. You guys want to grab lunch? Like, we've come to this space of like, we'd rather be like Anthony Scalia and Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg and agree to disagree, but like disagree and not like their opinions, but still like the person.
Yes.
But the second thing I want to say in like regards of like, where do I get this big mouth? And like, I come in and I'm like, oh, we're going to shut that down right now. Is I always lead with like intention. And I think because I always, my intention is to live a life of service, right? Like, and you abide by that same, compass. When I go to like, okay, what is my intention here? It's never to like draw attention to myself. But it's like always to do the right thing, or like, how do I serve and how do I help people? So I think when I on mic or I speak from that place. And if that's the one message that I want to give to more people is like, if you check your intention at the door, your words are going to you're going to speak better. Your words are going to land. Energy is so powerful. So I don't know. I think that for me, when like that happened, my intention was to focus on the integrity of Clubhouse
That's right.
and not call anybody out, but just be like, remind them of like, maybe you need a little checkup from the neck up, like, and my intention wasn't to hurt anyone or insult anybody or be a bully, maybe a little bit of a bully,
Yeah.
but,
No,
but
I think you were being a voice, right? And you were using your influence in a way to say, listen, let's be fair.
yeah,
Let's be fair and let's treat people the way we want to be treated. And the one thing about it is we don't have enough people, I think, willing to stand up sometimes, right? And use the influence in such a way. And so I too, that's something that I would do if I felt like someone was being mishandled and I had some influence in that space. But
yeah.
Barbara Majeski, what was the last thing that made you like grin from ear to ear? What was the last thing that made you just like smile?
Oh, yeah. Well, recently, so my son is home from college. So that's
Nice.
a really great question. And so I'm a mom of 3. I'm not married anymore, but I went to the airport with my with Milena and Max to go pick up Gabe, and we were just like this happy little foursome. Like we were just so happy, like our life was complete, and it was like I could cry thinking about it because it just makes me so happy to have my family together and that we enjoy spending time with each other. And I recently read the true measure of success is when your adult children want to come back and spend time with you. And
Absolutely.
I really do. That read, and actually Benstock sent that to me. Brian Benstock sent it to
Nice.
me, knowing that I was like, that's what I want. I enjoy the company of my children. So yeah, that was just really, really nice.
Yeah,
Love my
and
kids.
clearly they enjoy the company of you, and you're such a badass, cool ass mom, right? But Barbara, like the fact that you just purchased a plane
I invested in, yes, yes,
Like,
yes.
invested in a plane that is paying it forward already. Like, how bad ass is that? Did you Barb, did you see yourself owning a plane 5 years ago?
Yeah,
Had a goal?
I absolutely, I don't think anything is by accident. I was so curious about private aviation. I do think that's where things are going. So, actually, it is, it is always surreal, but at the same time, it's like I kind of this is I was interested in it. And when I mentioned it, and this is where you need to keep your circle, like protect, surround yourself with good people.
Right.
And not that I was not surrounded by good people, but I did bring up private aviation in a certain group.
Mhm.
And one of the women ripped my head off later on that night. And they're like, why do you talk about that? Like, no one's going to marry you if you're always like talking about private aviation and da da da. And I was like, well, I'm like, I'm like, I didn't have a plane. I was like, I just am curious how people have access to that kind of luxury. And
Right.
I like it. I'm like, that looks really cool where you're like, it's snowing in Colorado and I just want to go skiing. And then, you call your plane. And I was like, that looks really cool. I'd like to experience that. But here's what I've learned, TM, because I'm really blessed this way. To the person who kind of that ripped my head off about that. She was lucky in her own way. She was put through college, very good family, helped her buy her first home,
Yeah.
got a great job, corporate job, checks a lot of those like she's a good person and she is a great person. But what she didn't understand was an entrepreneur, which or a self-made entrepreneur. So I had the blessing and I was gifted with being raised with no money and having to learn how to create a life and a lifestyle for myself with absolutely nothing. I am not the smartest. I academically I'm a zero. Uh, Like
I find that hard to believe.
I,
But
I, and this is where I love talking about this stuff. When I am interested in something, stand back. But I think a lot of people are that way.
yeah,
When you're interested in something, most people are gifted and they're will like literally dive into it with all their might. That I wasn't interested in biology and chemistry and I was like I did like history, but I wanted to learn how to make money. Like, and when I figured out, I was like, I just need to learn how to do X, Y, and Z. I'm like a dog on a bone. I'm like, get out of my way because I got to go get that.
here I come, here
So,
I come.
and then once I learned that, like when I was like, even though, when you're first like in pursuit of something, you're like, I don't know, I'm just going to give my best effort. But then you start slowly, knocking one thing off and getting like, you're like, oh, I did that. I got that. I figured out that. And I learned that and I mastered that. And then you're like, well, what else can I do?
That's right.
And that's the blessing of an entrepreneur of like, there's nothing out of reach when you have started to unpack how to learn things. There's a book called The Art of Learning. And it's like, once you've figured out, like, wait, if I actually want to learn anything, if I wanted to be a lawyer, I could go to law school and I could be a lawyer. No interest. I'd be good, but I don't want to do it.
Yes, you would
I
be.
would be really like, don't argue against me. I will chew people up and spit them out alive. Um, but see, there's two gifts in there. Like, I think that I ended up with the silver spoon in my mouth because I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I was born with the want of the silver spoon.
And grit.
And
Tons of grit.
tons of grit. But once you start, like, I'm telling you, I don't know. It's like once you're like, I can learn anything, and you start like you understand that you're like, no, I can do anything I set my mind to if I'm willing to do the work and learn and be humble enough to get the right mentorship. You can learn anything. I can learn how to fly a plane if I want to learn how to fly a plane. I just have to focus my energy towards it. I have to be willing to do the work. And for me, and I don't know if this will resonate with you or anyone else, I know one thing about myself. I have to work twice as hard to learn something, but once I've learned it, I'm like, it'll take me so much longer to learn something. I'm telling you, I'm like the slowest learner. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it. But then when I get it, please, everyone just back off,
Yeah,
But that's me. And as long as I'm willing to be patient enough to get through the suck of
that's
learning,
Absolutely.
I can be a master at this. So anyway, think of those 2 tracks of like the plane of like, I have this gift of like, no, I want a plane. I'm gonna go ahead and do the work to get it. Now I'm a fractional owner in a small Honda Jet, just to be clear, and to me and Ben Stock, which he's like, I love him, and we're partners in this plane. That's our starter plane. I'm like, okay, this is a good start. But like now I'm like, all right, how do I like I want a fraction in this. I want the whole kit and caboodle. I
That's
want
right.
full access, and I don't want to have to sit there and budget my pennies. I'm like, well, I can take 3 or 4 trips a year. I want to be like, I want to do whatever the fuck
That's right.
I
You know,
want.
but it first starts as a thought. It first starts as a
Mhm,
thought, then you have to figure out how to manifest it. You said it, right? It
mhm,
takes learning exactly what it is that needs to be learned, and I think
mhm,
you said it's difficult for you, but I think there are areas, subjects that are way more difficult for everyone
mhm,
than easy, right? Some things come naturally for us all, and then some things, regardless of what it is, everyone struggles interpreting things. Where someone else may say, "That's so simple. Why don't you get it?" I just
mhm.
don't get it. Help me understand. So thank you for sharing that. It's inspiring, nevertheless. Fractional owner, full owner. The fact that you can think about owning a plane just because you're interested in aviation and then moving to owning or being an owner. Uh,
Mhm.
it's inspiring. Right? It says what gets focused on gets done, Barb.
Yeah, and Tam, it's important to understand that yes, it first starts with the belief, and then it's got to be the belief in the belief, if that makes any sense. Because
Yes.
whether you think you can or you think you can't, you are right. And I was gifted enough to kind of decide early enough. I was like, I don't know whether I can or I can't, but I do know that I can give my best effort. So
Mhm.
I think the hardest part is like they always say the hardest million is to make your first million. And
Yeah.
I think honestly, it's that getting that train out of the depot. You have to put in so much energy and you don't know if it's ever gonna like, is this gonna work? But if you're surrounded with the right people, you have the right information, the right behaviors, the habits, you do the right things, you will get the right outcomes.
I'm,
That's what I love teaching, and I teach it from a sincere place of experience, not like a professor that went to school that their parents put them through. Like nobody put me through college. I I waited tables. I taught aerobics. I worked at the student union. I alphabetized microfilm at Bloomberg Financial Markets. I mean, I've done this shit to get the shit.
right. Barbara, what is a hidden talent no one knows about?
I like nothing. I think
You said it all.
my superpower is I am good at like like I can be good and I'll do anything good. But I'm never the best at anything. And I have come to like I like love that because there's always somebody I can learn from and look up to. The reason I say this is so silly. Like, I don't know. I just do different events. Like I'll show up for a 5K. I'll do the New York City Marathon. I'll do triathlons. I'll do podcasting, whatever, but my goal is always to give my best effort. Like I'm never here to be the best. I'm here to give my best. And that gives me so much more like I don't know, like I don't give a shit. Like I'm not here to be the best. I just can give my best effort. And where that lands, I never care. I'm
Right.
just,
Take the
you know.
doesn't it take the pressure off as well, right? You're not trying to put on, you're not trying to impress, you're just gonna put it out there, based on your understanding. And then Bob, you're like, and if I'm wrong, help me understand who has some feedback for me.
Yeah, or, oh, that wasn't a match for me. Like, I'm okay with, like, learning what I'm not gonna be,
Right.
like, not gonna be my a match. Like, you know what I'm not good at? I'm really bad at snowmobiling, which is so random, but it's, like, something I was like, "Oh, I'm so excited to snowmobile," and then I snowmobiled twice, and I flipped the snowmobile twice, 2 different
Wow.
occasions, and I was like, actually just am really bad at this. I don't know what, and I have no interest in mastering the snowmobile. And I only bring that up because I think people put so much pressure on themselves to be amazing. And instead of like, if you could just take that off the table and do the, take a line out of Oprah's book, is run the race as fast as you can. And
Yeah.
what you're going to find out is that you're actually amazing. Like you're amazing in when are relentless in the pursuit of giving your best effort and not trying to be the best other person. Like, stop trying to be them. Stop trying to beat them and stop trying to be them. Start focusing on what you actually have jurisdiction over, which is your best effort. And you really control three things in the universe: your attitude, right? Choose your attitude. You're a winner or you're a loser, you decide. Your effort, how much effort work are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to do the due diligence? And number three is, what's your intention? What's your intention in this world? Like, where are you going? And again, that goes to like how I can unmic in Clubhouse. And I'm not always great. I mean, sometimes I'm like, having my moments, but for the most part, I'm like, how can I serve?
You are serving in a major way. You're bringing about major impact. I think leadership is about certainty. Leadership is about impact. How important is leadership to you? It's extremely important to me, Barb, because I want to be the change that I want to see around me, and I feel the
Mhm.
need for leadership to up level in this country, in this world. How important is leadership to you?
The best leaders are those who put other people's success ahead of theirs. Like, success is strictly a byproduct of how many people you can serve and how many people you can help. And in real, I think transformative leadership, where you can impact so many more people, is when you lead from a space of authenticity and transparency. And those words are very overused right now, but there is a depth to them that is sometimes just like flippantly thrown around.
Yeah,
But like, I'm running these like 14-day resets, right? Like, and they're these intensives where I go, how to optimize your life. And these 14-day intensives, I go through like different mindset strategies, and they're coupled with, like, it's not just about learning, they're coupled with writing. They're three W's: water, walking, and writing. Like, I'm like, I combine action through information because it helps cross-pollinate both sides of your brain. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that as these 14-day intensives are starting to evolve, I'm realizing there's more niches out there. Like, we're doing a 14-day divorce A. Like, if you've been divorced, do this intensive to help optimize the next chapter of your life. And I'm actually starting to create different niches of like, maybe you've been through a recovery of substance abuse, or you're a widow or a widower, or you've suffered like, and because when you're in those spaces, those traumatic spaces, you do want some sort of grounding. And the reason I'm bringing this up in leadership is I realize through the different niches that are starting to evolve, they're like, oh, Barb, I want to do this 14-day with, people that have lost their spouses. I'm like, great, and they're taking it, but I can't lead those intensives. I can't talk to widowers or widows from, I have not lost a spouse.
nothing.
I've wanted to maybe kill one of them. No, I'm just kidding. But I haven't actually buried anybody. There's no dead bodies. Anyway,
No.
just kidding. But the reason I bring up this, I'm like, all right, bring it back, Barb. The whole leadership
Love it.
thing, the concept is, when you are living your truth, and some of your truth, people don't understand the difference in shame and truth, of like, no, don't be ashamed. Like, I'm not ashamed of my divorce, my
Yeah,
cancer, my
yeah,
all the things, because that's my truth. And I sometimes I haven't, that's the truth. And the truth is, when you use some of your suffering to help others, it's the only emancipation. The only emancipation from suffering is to help others. And so I'm finding that leadership is really being authentic and transparent, and using your experiences to serve and help others. So that's when you speak of leadership, that's what I'm talking about. I'm like, all right, what in where are you an authority, an expert, and can come from a space of like full recovery and healing so that you can serve others. Like when I was going through cancer, people would tell me like, oh, my sister had cancer and this is what she did. And I was like, oh, okay. But when somebody called me and they're like, Barb, I had stage 3 colon cancer, I'm like, oh my God, talk to me. Like those are the only people I wanted counsel from. I'm like, they were like, we would talk about oxaliplatin and Folfox and, capecitabine, like like we spoke a
All
language.
the things, yeah,
Like,
absolutely,
like at
yeah,
least we speak.
relatable things.
So that's leadership to me of being, and again, those words are so overused, but they're irreplaceable. And when they're used in their true authority, man, they can be transformative, being transparent, being authentic, being, being you. So that's
Being
what a
you.
leader needs to do. That's a great transformative leader.
What are 3 words you think that describe you, Barb, as a leader? What 3 words? If someone were to, if a best friend were to ask 3 words that describes Barbara Majeski, what 3 words you think they would actually use?
I believe they would say as a leader, I would say people would say, I always have people's best interest in mind. That's a point of, I'm like, what's in their best interest? I'm telling, it can change my whole brain when I'm like, all right, I can figure this out if I think what's in their best interest. So I come from this space of, um, real service of, okay, what's in their best interest. I think they would also say, I have no bandwidth for bullshit. I'm not gonna.
I'd say that for sure.
You would say that about me or about you?
You no bandwidth for bullshit.
No
Absolutely.
bandwidth for bullshit because it's unproductive, it's sabotaging, and it's again not in anyone's best interest. So I'm like, okay, let's stop buying the bullshit because it's not working.
Yeah.
So I would say that would probably be number 2, and number 3, I'm a ride or die girl. I really align myself with people that I don't know. I'm a ride or die. I'm like, I have got your back. As long as you never lie to me and cheat or anything like that. I am a ride or die girl for life. I'm a Taurus. That's my birth sign. And the one thing they say is we're loyal. And I think that's what I most personify is I am loyal ride or die girl. So
Yeah.
mhm.
You, I would absolutely say, are ride or die. You, Barb, have been up against some of the toughest of the tough on Clubhouse. You have been a part of conversations. And, I love something that you said earlier, right? You said that you can disagree and still have no problem going to have dinner, right? Having a drink. I
Mhm.
know that to be true, that like that's no bullshit, right? Because I remember conversations between you and Jonathan Bing,
Yeah.
like not like knocked down, drag out. You're like,
Mhm.
wait a minute, if they see each other in the street, is it safe? Is it safe? But yes, it's safe because you don't take it that seriously. In fact, I was so impressed recently to find out that you had Bing's daughters as a part of a segment, right?
Yeah.
On the Today Show, I believe it was,
Mhm.
and just to validate how much you really don't take that stuff seriously.
I think that Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Anthony Scalia relationship has been such a guiding force for me. I have such admiration for that. And I think Nelson Mandela says, be the change you wish to see
Right?
in the world.
My guy.
And I wish to see more of that where we can have dissenting voices. Just because I don't like your opinion doesn't mean I don't like you. And
Yes.
I think Jonathan Bing and I, right? We're absolutely those 2. We don't agree on anything, and we're actually honestly, we have had such drop down drag out fights that they go from being, like, totally, like, crazy angry at each other where we're laughing. Like it's actually just moves from like, this is
Really dumb.
ridiculous. He's like, you are dumb. And he's like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But you know, at the end of the day, I think we have found in Clubhouse and what we're trying to model, because there are people that come in and they're new to Clubhouse and they take it so personally and they're like,
Very
oh,
personal.
I'm not coming back. I'm like, oh, come back. You just got to get into the culture of this, that we want this environment where we can have these knockdown, drag out, like brutal,
Yeah.
verbal arguments, but it doesn't mean we don't like you. Now, some people do not know how to do that. There are certain people that are in Clubhouse that I'm like, you crossed the line.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You crossed the line, that you went too far. You don't understand. We have boundaries here, like just where, then all of a sudden you're like, I actually wouldn't want to run into somebody in the street. That
Absolutely.
I think the real authorities and influencers on Clubhouse actually have this clarity of boundaries and respect. Again, like you see some of us, we go and then we show up the next day for like more, but
Right. For
I
more.
don't know.
How bad could it be to show up for more?
And the truth is sometimes I win and sometimes I'm like, I crushed it today. And then other days I'm like, well, they took me to church, because they'll come up with some sort of, but all I do, it sharpens my sword. I'm like, the
Right.
next time they say that, I'm gonna be able to, so I'm truly like this. Now I'm like a gladiator. I'm like, I would not want to
That
go
moves
against
in
me
stealth mode because you're so like, oh, so suave with it. Like, yes, I'm ready.
some days.
Uh, Bob, you have to do a lot of research for the work that you do. We hear it. You show us how to do this and how to do that and how to do cool things and how to make real cool drinks. And you for every season you have to. I mean, study, study, study. Listen, are you a hardback book or an audio book person?
Oh, I'm a little bit of both. I read actually, the last book I read was The Go-Giver, and I was so
Yes,
obsessed with that book. I
yes.
had to put it on
Proper.
audio, so I could put the physical book down and then listen to it when I was in the car. And then I was on a train listening to the book, reading the book simultaneously because I needed like all channels of like absorption of the concept. That book is definitely like I personify. I would like to say I personify that of like I just give and give, and the universe has conspired in my favor with just this giving nature and like this like I don't know. I can't explain it, but that book. So I need a little bit. The thing with a book is that you can highlight and underline, and like it's tactile. And then sometimes, like on audio, I'm like, how do you clip that? How do I like put that in my journal and stuff? When I read this great quote, TM, today, and it's on my Instagram story. It's by Robin Sharma, I reposted his quote, and then his assistant was like, "Can we send you the book, the
Oh, wow.
Hero's Manifesto?" I'm like,
Very nice.
"Yes, you can, Robin Sharma.
Very nice.
I will pay you for that book too. Like you don't have to send it for free." But what it said was journaling is like praying. And I loved reading that. And he said it much better than I did. But on any of my programs I do, I'm like, you have to write things down, because it's this transference of using both sides of your brain, your creative and your analytical. But I'd never heard journaling being like praying, where I completely agree with that. It's like this level of articulating your dreams, maybe some things that you're working through, your aspirations, your gratitude, your circumstances, and I just love that. So.
Yeah, yeah. Bob, you're such a boss, right? And your thought process is so cool. You are not only a television personality, right? You're a blogger, you are a podcaster, but you also are a real estate investor. Can we talk about?
Yeah.
We already talked about how you own, you're co-owner of a plane, but can we
Mhm.
talk about the damn real estate and how you are no listen, you are like no small thing when it comes to real estate. Like you don't play around. with making sure that you can like represent, even in real estate. Let's talk about it as we wind
Yeah.
this thing down.
You know what, Tim? This is the thing. Um, I guess I've just been in it for a while. I mean, I'm turning 50 this year. I'm pretty excited to go to the fifth
Wow.
floor. I made it this far.
Nobody would
Um,
know if you didn't tell us. You look
Thank
wonderful.
you. I feel great. And it is like it's such a mindset, man.
Yeah,
You're how you take care of yourself in your 30s predicates your 40s, your 40s, your
absolutely.
50s. Like that's why I do these workout things. I'm like, you don't understand. Like you got to take care of the temple, and we're living longer. But
We appreciate you for these challenges for sure.
I love them. Oh my God. But I'll say this with real estate and that I can share in this space that I think is really important is I think a lot of people get analysis paralysis and it is risky. There's a lot of money involved. There's um highs and lows, things that you cannot predict. It's it's a big game. These are big numbers. This isn't like, putting $15 on a sports betting game. This is hundreds of thousands of dollars. This like this entry level is like $100,000, I guess, for a starter house, whatever. Um, but you gotta be in it to win it. And what I see so much is analysis paralysis. People are like they want some sort of home run. And listen, if it was a home run and everything was like a guaranteed win, all
Everybody.
the realtors would be buying
That's right.
before it never ever made it to the market. Okay. There would never be real estate. But the truth is it's the long game. If you can play the long game and not get caught up in my basement flooded or the roof leaked or we need a new stove, and you don't like get so like you go back on your heels like holy shit, the roof leaked. I'm like, of course it leaked. It's a house. Like houses have problems, but the dirt, invest in the dirt. And I think this is where I do have a certain like I'm always play the long game. Don't get caught up in the like if you're gonna get caught up in like a toilet exploding, oh my god, my renter, the toilet explode
You shouldn't be in it.
shouldn't be in it. You've
Yeah.
got to play the long game and you have got to have some sort of fortitude and like an understanding of like, yeah, and everything is not like this balance. I was supposed to make X amount of dollars and then but the toilet exploded. And now like you have to take into account a lot of the little things or the renter like not paying their rent or a gap in a tenant or whatever. And I think because I handle setbacks as like I would handle anything like okay let's keep moving the feet forward and not getting bogged down like because that's negative like oh my god this happened, and that's where I see people getting jammed up and then they don't pull the trigger, and then you hear them 15 year oh my god I should have bought that waterfront property in Bayhead. I like that it's nails on a chalkboard to me. I'm like hindsight, of course we should have done a lot of things. I should have bought, I should have invested in, I don't know, whatever stock is blowing up right now, which absolutely no stock is. Of course, you should have bought this, that, and the other thing. So I would say, like, for anybody, it's just a matter of like, do your due diligence,
Yeah.
know your market, just know the dirt that you're buying more than anything else. Where's that dirt located? Is it located next to a university? Is it located in a good school district? Is it located next to a pollution plant or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
Buy dirt is my real estate piece of advice. And when I say dirt, like you can replace a house. Like people get caught up in faucets and stupid shit. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all I see is that dirt is like next to the ocean. Like, who cares what the faucets look like? Focus on dirt, which is really all I'm saying is location, location, location. But people are tired of hearing that. So I'm going to say buy dirt.
Yeah.
Don't worry about the house. Don't get like if somebody's bedazzling you with faucets, I want you to call me because you're literally paying double for those faucets because somebody else put them in. And I don't want you to do them. And play the long game.
Play the long game. What's one thing you have not accomplished that you are looking to accomplish? What
Um,
you are very
I
accomplished.
just love your questions. You're such a great interviewer,
Thank
and
you.
I'm grateful
Barbara
paths crossed.
Majeski. Wow, thank you.
Yeah, no, you're great, and I'm grateful our paths crossed in New York over a year ago. It's so great to meet you, and you add a lot of value on Clubhouse. I'd love to hear you on mic a little bit more. I think you're, finding your cadence and like
I
it's tough. Like it's like it is. It's like boxing. You're like, when do I get in? When do I throw my punch?
Barbara
And
Wait, for sure.
yeah, you're holding back, and I'm like throwing punches like a pit bull.
Okay. Yeah,
You
absolutely.
just got to get in there. And sometimes, so listen, sometimes you swing and you miss, and there's no question about it. But you got to be okay with that. You're
Yeah,
not always gonna like do a knockout punch, and every once in a while you're gonna completely flub the play, but that's okay.
totally.
But Tam, I think you're absolutely amazing, and this has been such a gift for me. And the one thing I think that I have not accomplished well, um, let me think. I don't have oceanfront property yet. I do not.
Mhm.
I would really like to have dirt on the ocean. That's what I that is that's kind of, or dirt on the bay. Like I want waterfront.
Yeah.
And this goes back. I had brought that up to somebody a couple years ago, and I got my head ripped off again. Like, why can't you just be happy with what you have? And I'm like,
Up,
actually,
upgrade those friends, Barb.
I know. It's just you have to be in the right company, and I think that's one of my big messages is like, show me who you're hanging out with, and I'll show you where you'll be in 5 years,
That's
what
right.
you're reading, and the people that you're hanging out with. But it wasn't that I was hanging out with the wrong people, I was just talking about the wrong things with the wrong people. I was like, "All right, I just have to." But when I talk
Absolutely.
about it to, like, a lot of our friends on Clubhouse, oh, they're like, "Yeah, like, of course you are gonna have
Totally get it.
oceanfront." Because if that person can have oceanfront, why can't I? What
Yes.
did they do to get that? And let me just find the best path for me to get up there. And that nothing's off the table. It's a total mindset of what am I willing to do? Am I willing to do the work? And how do I get there the fastest? So yeah, I think having that would be really nice for me. I also would like a piece of property, a ski house, either in Utah or Colorado, so that my kids and I could just do these big ski vacations and stuff like that. So those are my two, like, I haven't accomplished yet. And then my third is personal, of like I'm still not married, and I think marriage is an institution to which I want to be a part of. So stand
I,
by on that.
I see number three coming sooner than later, Barb. I see it coming.
Do you? I don't know. I I I would I think it'll happen for sure. I think it's definitely gonna happen. I believe in it, and I believe in
That's
family.
beautiful.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. But Barbara Majeski, I am so honored for your time. This has been very interesting. Every time I hear your voice, I learn more and more and more about you. Bearing It All is the podcast. You can see her on the Today Show. You can see her. Is Nick Cannon even still on the air right now?
It's not, but I was on, Fox and Friends last week, so you never know where I'm gonna pop up.
Listen, she is going to be somewhere on a television screen near you, Bob. How can we follow you?
It's Barbara Majeski at Instagram, barbaramajeski.com, and I am now expanding into the More Life Collective, which will be coming soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that, because I am doing collaborations with those who want to do like intensives but lead them on their own. So it's going to be really cool to be doing that too.
BarbaraMajeski.com. And Barb, I'll be looking for that invite when you get that waterfront and that.
Okay, that's fair. I would love a visit from you.
Thank you
I
so
love it.
much.
Well, thank you, TM.
Absolutely. Have a great day.
Thanks, you too.